Hello everyone, I'm Rajeshwari and today I'll be showing you how to make bread without yeast or baking powder or baking soda. So I've taken 4 to 5 tablespoons of maida or plain flour and I'm adding water to it. So we want to make an idli dosa batter like consistency for this starter. So I'm adding more water to it. We are making a sourdough starter, so we are just using flour. We are going to ferment it naturally and then we'll be using that to make our bread. So I'm going to mix this starter really well so that there's no lumps in it. And once my batter is ready, I'll be covering it up and I'll keep it in my kitchen for about 24 hours. So after waiting for almost an entire day for my starter to rise, I'll be kneading the dough for my bread now. So here are some of the ingredients that I'll be using, not some, all of the ingredients that I'll be using. So I have taken 1 cup of maida and half a cup of whole wheat flour. And I also have 1/4 cup of maida which I'll be using later on for binding the dough. I'm keeping it aside for now. And I'm adding about 1 teaspoon salt and 3 to 4 teaspoons of sugar in my dough now. And I've taken all these ingredients together in this large plate in which I'll be kneading my dough. My mom calls it a kathok. And most Indian households use this for kneading their atta. So I'm mixing up all these flours and the salt and the sugar and everything well. And let's add our sourdough starter into this. So you see it has risen really well. Look how frothy it has become after 24 hours. I'm going to take in everything from this bowl and add it into my flours. And finally I'm adding some oil into this dough. You can also add butter or ghee. I sometimes add butter, I sometimes add ghee, and this time I decided I'll add some oil into it. So I'm going to mix this up really well and use water for binding the dough. If you want to make pav out of it for pav bhaji or vada pav or anything, you can go ahead and use milk for binding your dough. Sometimes you can even add milk powder in this dough. So we want a really soft dough for making bread. So I'm going to add more water for binding. And let's mix this up really well. Your hands can get dirty. It's quite a sticky situation for me right now. It's one of those times when I wished I had a dough scraper. So I'm trying to form some gluten now with my atta. So kneading it really well. Trying to get everything together. And really spreading it out. And then taking everything together again and then spreading it out again. So I do this for a few times. You see how sticky my dough has gotten. So now I'm using the maida that I kept aside for binding my dough and getting everything off my hands. I'm adding some more oil, and now what I'll be doing is I'll be folding the dough over and over again so that we get a smooth dough in the end. So we need to keep doing this until we have a very smooth dough. So this recipe is given to me by one of my aunts. She is Neelima Masi, and she has always been trying to make bread out of yeast, bread without yeast, using a sourdough starter. And when she perfected the recipe, she passed it on to me. So I'm patting some oil on the dough now and folding it some more. And what we'll do now is we'll cover it up and we'll keep it for proofing. We'll keep it aside for proofing for 2 to 3 hours. Just cover it up well. Three hours have passed, and let us check up on our dough. So let's uncover it. Oh, it's really stuck to the bowl. Okay, so our dough seems like it has proofed well. And now what we'll be doing is we'll be kneading it some more. It has really stuck to the plate. The dough is really soft right now and little unmanageable, but you have to manage. So I'll be using some oil to get it out of the sticky situation. But believe me, this is the type of dough you want for a soft bread. So let me scrape it off and get it all together. So now I'm folding the dough. And this is what I did in the first process when I was kneading the dough for the first time. I folded it, I kept on folding it. Now I'm going to divide this into 2 equal halves, and I'll be using these mini loaf pans today for making my bread. So my bread is going to be smaller in size. Oiling my hands up so I can shape this dough a bit and then put it in my loaf pan. I have greased my loaf pan with some oil. Again, for greasing you can use butter as well or ghee. So after shaping the dough a bit in the shape of this loaf pan, I'm dropping it into the loaf pan. So one is done. I have another one and I'll be putting the second half in this loaf pan. It's a really soft dough. So handle with love. There you go. Just spread it out a little in the gaps. Yeah. So now we have 2 mini loaf pans ready for proofing again. So I'll be proofing this again for some hours. I'm brushing oil on top of this, but I have to be really careful to be using a light hand because you just saw the bristles left a mark on my dough. So use a really light hand. Now I'm covering it up with this large pan that I have and let it rise for about 3 more hours. So I decided to wait an hour extra. Let's check up on the loaf pans. The dough has risen well. Time for baking. So these are ready to go in the oven. I'm going to bake this at 200 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes. 30 minutes is the maximum you should go. You could even do it for 25 minutes. 30 minutes will give you a nice brown layer. Oh, look at that oven spring. That's what I'm talking about. So it rose so well in the oven. And it's 30 minutes and it's out of the oven, and that's how it looks. Let's brush on some butter. And we'll keep this aside for cooling down. I'll let the bread cool down for the entire night, and I'll be slicing this in the morning. So these slices look really cute because they are so small but very spongy at the same time. Let me focus this on for you. There, you can have a look at the texture now. All this without yeast. Who could have imagined? So we decided to make garlic bread out of these mini slices, and they turned out delicious. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you try this recipe out.